Hey, welcome. Thanks for joining me. This is basically a test. I'm hoping it will help you ascertain where you're at and what your next steps might be with regard to your musical ear. That's the topic of today's video. So the test is simply to improvise over two chords using any and all of the modes of the major scale. If you feel ready to do that now, you know your way around your guitar neck. Use the links in the description to skip ahead. For those who'd like a bit more information on what's going on, I'm going to give you a little bit of theory to help you understand the process. Here are the diatonic chords in three keys, C, D and G. Our chord progression is simply a bar of G and one bar of E minor. So you can see that in the key of C, that's a 5-1. In the key of D, it's a 4-2, and in the key of G, it's a 1-6, because all these three keys contain both of the chords G and E minor. This is therefore an ambiguous chord progression that can be regarded as being in any one of those keys. So the question is, does it sound right to you in all three keys? And that's what this test is about. You're going to play over that chord progression in all three keys, and you're going to ascertain whether or not it sounds right to you in all three keys. And then I've got a couple of different paths, suggestions for you to take, whichever one of those two camps you're in. So it's not a right or wrong test, it's just a test ascertaining where you're at with your musical ear, and I've got a few ideas for you on how to progress further. So here's the test. I'm going to play an MP3 of a loop of G and E minor, one bar of each. You can consider it to be in G. I guess it starts with a G, but because there's one bar of each, then within a few bars you might find that you place more weight on the E minor and you consider it more in E minor. It's kind of 6 1 half dozen the other. So the test is for you to solo in G Ionian, G major and E minor, G Ionian and E aeolian, and then switch it up and solo in G Lydian and E dorian, and then switch it up further and improvise in G mixolydian and or E phygian. So you're going through the same three keys. Basically, you're going through the keys of G, C and D. And the question is, does it sound right to you in all of those? And that's it really. Whether it does or doesn't, it's informative. So let's just get on with it. You'll need to know where these positions are. So what I'll do is while the loop's playing, I'll put tab up for all of those 6 modes. I favour the sort of frets 7 to 10-ish, maybe 12. So I'll put tab up in those. Let's just get on with it. Grab your guitar, play, see what happens, how you feel about it, what sounds right to you in your ear. Hope you enjoy. So, how was that for you, honey? You either found that you could switch comfortably between 3 different keys, or you didn't. I'll address the latter first, and then the former, And also I did it myself and recorded myself in case that's of use to you, but I've thrown it almost at the end of the video. I think the last two things I put at the end of the video will be me improvising over, not unprepared, and just, hopefully that's got some value to you. If not, just don't watch it. That's why I'm putting it at the end of the video. And also, in case you found that far too brief for you, at the end of the video, I'll put that loop up for a couple of 3 minutes. So, you can always skip ahead at any point, obviously. So for those of you who couldn't switch between, and I'm not saying, you couldn't switch between because you don't know where to put your fingers. I mean, you switch between the 3 keys and it just doesn't sound right to you. You're like, no, that's wrong. There's something for you to learn there, and what it is that the reason, this could be a reason why you're struggling with some of your playing, is because your musical ear isn't developed enough. So here's what I suggest you do. One thing is from listening, the other thing is you're playing, and the answer's the same for both. Listen. So for instance, I don't know, maybe you found that the sharp 4, the Lydian mode, you're like, ooh, no, this doesn't sound right to me. What I'm suggesting to you, what you need to do is to make it so it does sound right to you. The thing that needs to change is in your musical ear and is not in your fingers or anything else or your knowledge. It's simply you need to develop your musical ear. The way to do that is listen to just shut. My personal approach to these things is I'll go, right, I'm going to do that now to the exclusion of everything else. So if I was in your shoes, speaking to the people who found that Lydian, oh no, that just sounds wrong, I would spend all the following week just listening to music that's in Lydian mode. Whatever style you like. Steve Vai did shed loads of stuff in Lydian, I read somewhere. And the other thing is to play in it. Play only Lydian for a whole week. Listen and play to only those things. And I think what you'll find is that then your ear will develop and you'll go, oh, right, oh, yeah, that sounds okay to me now. Oh, right, yeah. You might even grow to love it. This is certainly the journey that I've been on, and that's what I found. And where I got to then, and I guess this is my message to people who did find it comfortable, I would say, right, you want to be doing more of this. And what I suggest you do is start exploring more exotic scales if you haven't done already. And also use more chord progressions like this, as in chord progressions that are ambiguous. I do a lot of making up loops where, I think sometimes I can switch between maybe as many as 7, 8, 9, maybe even 10 different scales over the same loop. And all the time I'm doing that, I'm training my musical ear. And I've been on a journey now for a couple of years where that's been my primary focus. And I really have advanced more in the last couple of years with my playing than I did in the previous 10 years probably. And that's why I'm bringing this to you and hoping that I might be able to help you on this journey. Seriously consider joining me on Patreon, because link in the description, because I do a workshop every week, 2-hour workshop, and it's all based upon, I don't really like the word composing because it sounds like up my own arse a bit. So making stuff up, exploring, composing and making stuff up in different keys and using more exotic scales. And that's basically the focus of this workshop. It is 7 till 9 British time, GMT. That might not work for some people. It's incredibly cost effective because most people are tightening their belts in these hard times, and I think it works out something like £7 or less than $10 for 2 hours a week. So yeah, and whether or not you do join me, carry on your journey. Nice one for you that you can switch comfortably. I'm increasingly, I'll give you another tip if you're one of those people. Look into the Lydian chromatic concept of tonal organisation, because and listen to more Wayne Krantz. That's my 2 tips for you to further develop if you found it easy and comfortable to switch between these 2 different keys. I always used to, I'll try not to witter too long, but I always used to think, oh, there's always 7 notes you can play and 5 you can't. And I think that's so much rubbish. And I think it was just faulty thinking that I had fallen into. And looking into the Lydian chromatic concept of tonal organisation really helped me to move toward where I'm at now. And where I'm at now is, at any given time, there's 12 notes available to me. And all of them just simply create more or less degrees of tension. And that's how I regard it. And I've got so much more freedom in my playing. I mean, it's a matter of taste. Some people listen to my playing and go, oh, I don't like that. I have close friends who listen to my playing and go, oh, I don't like that. I like a lot of sounds that are right on the edge of like, oh God, is that acceptable? Ooh, I'm not sure about that. Ooh, should you have played that? And that's the stuff I like. I like tension, musically speaking. Not in my marriage at all, but anyway, that's another story. So, yeah, I'm going to move towards leaving you with an example of me improvising over this chord progression, and also more of the chord progression for those people who would like to play for longer and not have to keep rewinding the video.